I figured you wouldn't need the money while you're out. That's what Drew texted me while I was still in the recovery room, still bleeding from a surgeon's knife. The anesthesia hadn't even worn off when the alert popped up. Transfer completed, account emptied, drive wiped. My partner, the man I had trusted for 15 years, deleted my life's work before I could sit up. I didn't reply. A nurse asked if I needed anything. I asked for my phone charger. He looked good in a blazer and said synergy like he invented the word. 2 days before surgery, he came to my house to check in. He brought a smoothie. Cashew protein. I hate cashew. I'll hold the fort, he said. You just worry about getting back. Then he slipped a document on my coffee table. Just a backup, he said. Board authorization. Worst case scenario. He was already holding a pen. I was too tired to argue. I signed it. Turns out, worst case scenario was the actual plan. I didn't scream, I didn't call a lawyer. Instead, I asked the nurse to bring me my briefcase. She looked confused. It's not really a briefcase, I said. More like a box of old grudges. She came back with it an hour later. Inside, 1 USB, 3 printed NDAs, and a folder labeled Partner Clause, 2012 draft. The folder was red. Drew never liked red. We filed that clause back when we were nobodies, just two guys afraid of being screwed over if one of us dropped dead or got greedy. It gave emergency controlling rights to the non-breaching party. Drew had forgotten all about it. I hadn't. The phone vibrated again. Another message from Drew. You'll thank me later. I streamlined operations. Then another. You're not answering. Don't make this dramatic. I powered off the phone and slipped the USB into my palm. It still had the access logs from our private cloud before Drew wiped it. That was enough. When I got home the next day, my daughter was waiting on the porch. She's 15, sharp as a tack. She looked at me like I'd just come back from war. You okay? I nodded. She tilted her head. He finally did it, huh? I said nothing. Just opened the front door and let her follow. You saved that box for this day, didn't you? I didn't answer, just dropped it on the kitchen table, next to her cereal bowl. She didn't flinch. She never does. She's my daughter. I pulled out the folder, opened it slowly, and slid out the clause. She leaned closer but didn't ask. Then I opened my laptop and typed one sentence into an encrypted doc. Title, clause enacted. She sat back and crossed her arms. So, what happens now? I looked at her, then at the clause, then at the little red tab Drew never noticed. I closed the folder, tucked it under my arm, and stood. Now, I said, I remind Drew what we used to call a contingency plan. She watched me walk out the door. I didn't pack a bag, didn't make a call. But I left the laptop open, cursor blinking on that single line. Drew thought I'd stay down because of surgery. He thought I'd be too weak to fight. But he forgot something. I'm the one who wrote the clause, and he already signed it. 3 weeks before the surgery, my mornings started at 5:40 a.m., not because I'm disciplined, because my daughter is. She'd boil the water before I got to the kitchen, pour 2 mugs, and wait without saying a word. That was our rhythm. Black coffee, silence, shared routine. At 6:10, I'd grab the keys and we'd head out. She to school, me to the office. By 6:45, I was at my desk, running cost projections and cash flow. Most mornings, Drew wouldn't show until 9:30, unless a camera was involved. But I didn't complain. That was the deal. He charmed, I stabilized. We made it work. Drew was the kind of guy who could sell a wet match to a firefighter. He'd walk into a pitch with no slides and walk out with a handshake and a retainer. Clients liked him. Boards loved him. Me? I was the one who'd stay after the call, running numbers, redlining scope creep, and fixing the billing model so we didn't bleed cash. The split worked. Until it didn't. 2 weeks before surgery, we were in a client debrief. A large logistics company had just wrapped a messy digital overhaul. Drew talked circles around the room, smiling, joking, quoting Sun Tzu for no reason. The client ate it up. Afterward, in the parking lot, he nudged me. Man, you're lucky. You get to avoid all this chaos for a few weeks. I said nothing. He pulled out his keys. Seriously, rest up. I'll keep things tight. You've earned it. He looked sincere. I believed him. At home, my daughter was preparing for a scholarship test. She had notes everywhere, on the fridge, on the walls, even inside the cereal box. You nervous? I asked. She shook her head. Not really. You'll be out, right? I paused. Out? I said. Recovery. You'll be home when I get the results? That's when it hit me. Surgery wasn't just about me. She'd need stability too. Yeah, I said. I'll be home. She nodded like that settled it. A few days later, one of our longtime staffers, Ben, a quiet guy in accounting, stopped by my office after hours. He dropped off a folder. Thought you should see this, he said. Drew asked for access to the operating accounts, said you approved it. I hadn't. Ben knew I hadn't. I told him to hold off on granting anything until I was back. He just nodded. We've been through worse, he said. I didn't realize until later that he had already made a backup of the ledger and archived it. 2 days before I checked into the hospital, Drew swung by the house. He brought a smoothie and that fake concerned smile he uses when he's rehearsed the conversation. You sure about this, surgeon? He asked. Want a second opinion? I shook my head. Then he pulled out a document. Legal thing, he said. Board proxy in case something happens. Totally standard. I skimmed it. Buried halfway down was a clause giving him unilateral signature authority in case of executive incapacitation. I raised an eyebrow. It's temporary, he said. Just a parachute. I was exhausted. The pain had been getting worse for weeks. I signed it. That same night, I got an email from a former client, Allison Green, COO at a fintech startup we'd helped scale. The subject line was short. Everything okay? I replied. Heading into surgery. Why? She sent a screenshot. It was a message from Drew. Eric is stepping down. Let's talk next phase. Stepping down. I read it 3 times. Then one more time. My daughter walked into the room, saw the screen, and asked, Is that about you? I minimized the window. Go finish your notes. I didn't sleep that night. I pulled out an old manila folder, dug through 10 years of contracts, and found it. The partner clause, initialed by both of us, dated valid. I stared at it until sunrise, not with anger, with precision. 2 hours before the surgery, I got a voicemail from our banker. Hi, Eric, this is Lisa at Fremont Capital. Just confirming. Did you authorize the $340K transfer to Drew's new holding account? We flagged it as unusual since the signature doesn't match yours. Then the line cuts out. I woke up to fluorescent lights and a nurse tapping my IV bag. The first thing I asked for wasn't water. It was my phone. No new texts, no missed calls. But when I tried to check my company email, invalid credentials, I tried again. Same result. I wasn't surprised, just disappointed in the speed. 2 days into recovery, I asked to see my laptop. My daughter brought it, wrapped in the same tote she used for school projects. I logged into our file server. Nothing. The shared drive was gone. My personal documents were intact. But the corporate folders? Erased. I clicked through my local cache. Dozens of 404 file not found errors. It wasn't just deletion. It was replacement. My corporate cards bounced the next morning. The pharmacy tech looked at me like I was a con artist trying to buy ibuprofen on someone else's dime. I used cash. Then called the bank. The account had been flagged and moved to an operational transition holding company, under Drew's name. The woman on the phone asked, So, are you not with Fremont Strategy anymore? I didn't answer. I still hadn't told my daughter. She thought I was just tired. Healing. I let her believe that. She brought me juice, opened the blinds, read her study guides aloud so I wouldn't feel alone. I let her believe everything was normal. 3 days post-op, I received an email from Allison Green, the same fintech COO. She attached a PDF. It was a formal proposal from a new entity, Danner Group LLC. Except, I hadn't created it. Drew had. Same logo, same colors. Just a new name, with mine in it. Under the signature block, authorized by Eric Danner, managing member. Forged. Sloppy, but bold. I started cataloging, screenshots, bank logs, DNS change confirmations from our domain provider, a copy of the new LinkedIn page for Danner Group LLC, where I was listed as executive advisor, retired. They even used my old headshot. I wasn't erased. I was being used. The article hit a local business blog that night. Strategic realignment. Drew Hastings takes the helm as Danner Group's sole managing partner. Quotes from anonymous insiders claimed I had decided to step away to focus on family and health. The same narrative was posted to Reddit, then shared on a professional Facebook group, and I watched it all from a recliner, sipping soup from a plastic lid. I didn't comment, didn't correct, didn't flinch. My lawyer, Alex, finally got back to me. He'd been on vacation, ski trip. Jesus, he said after reading the forwarded documents, he's not just covering his bases, he's making you disappear. Then he paused. Unless what? Unless he's covering something else up, something recent. That's when I showed him the board proxy I'd signed before surgery, the one giving Drew temporary power. He zoomed in on the signature, then opened a recent DocuSign file Drew had sent to a client last week, supposedly signed by me. Eric, this isn't the same signature. He enlarged both, side by side. One smooth, natural. The other, pixelated, pasted, copied. He leaned back. Dumb move. That's federal. That night I took out the folder again, the one with the partner clause. Tucked behind it was a notarized copy Drew had forgotten we had filed with the firm's original state registration. It had my name, his initials, and a line at the bottom. Any action taken under medical incapacitation must be ratified by both parties upon recovery within 10 business days. No ratification had happened. No notice. No warning. He gambled I'd be out longer. He gambled wrong. But I didn't react. Not yet. I needed more than proof. I needed a pattern. The next morning, I got a courier envelope from a contact at our cloud provider. Inside was a report showing system access logs. Someone had logged in using my credentials the morning of my surgery from Drew's office and accessed a set of financial forecasts I had been building privately. He had printed them and pitched them without me. I opened the file. Inside was the timestamp, 8:23 a.m. The exact minute I went under anesthesia. The file name? Fremont Exit V Final Eric Redacted XLSX. I looked at the screen and smiled. Not because I had him, but because I knew where he was going to be. And when. Lindsay chose the side booth, same cafe we used for onboarding interns years ago. She didn't order anything, just slid a small envelope across the table. I wasn't supposed to keep it. Inside, a draft of a purchase agreement. My name was nowhere near it, just Drew's and the buyer's. He told me to shred the file after your surgery, said you'd step down. I couldn't do it. Her voice cracked. I didn't say a word, just pressed record and nodded. She leaned forward. Eric, he was planning this months ago. I slipped the envelope into my coat. Good instincts, Lindsay. And left her with the check. Drew's signature had changed slightly, I remembered. His old R used to curl at the end. This one didn't. 2 days later, I walked into a meeting with Hugo Meyer, one of our biggest institutional backers. Drew wasn't there, yet. I heard about the situation, Hugo said. Tough break, but we still believe in the product. He slid over a tablet showcasing the Singapore proposal. The final page had both our names, mine and Drew's, under authorized partners. I kept my hands on the coffee cup, let the steam fog up my glasses while I took mental snapshots. He'd used a digital copy of my signature from an older doc. Sloppy. I excused myself early, said the meds were messing with my energy. Hugo shook my hand like he was meeting me for the first time. By midnight, I had the audit logs. The signature was copy-pasted from a proposal 3 years ago. He forged it with my past. I'd beat him with his future. The next day, a letter arrived at my daughter's school, from Drew's lawyer. Temporary reassessment of parental involvement due to mental and physical recovery needs. They used my own post-surgery photo as justification. The school called. "We just need a note from your doctor," the principal said. "It's protocol." I thanked her calmly and scheduled a visit for the next morning. Meanwhile, my attorney forwarded me a motion filed by Drew's counsel, a request to block my access to company premises due to erratic post-operative behavior. The filing was dated a full week before my discharge from the hospital. He couldn't even lie in order. That's when I knew he was scared. I took a drive out to Henry Kessler's house. He'd co-founded the firm with us. Retired quietly 5 years ago. Cancer scare. Now he tended roses and read legal thrillers. "I figured I'd see you," he said, opening the door. Inside, he walked me past framed headlines and into a back room lined with locked cabinets. I kept the originals. He handed me a binder. Tabbed, stamped, initialed, including the foundational agreement between the three of us. Clause 14b, any material reorganization or equity transfer required signatures from all founding members. Drew assumed I'd never check, he said. He assumed wrong. I flipped through the pages. My signature, Henry's, legal seals. "Why are you helping me now?" Henry poured 2 coffees. "Because he disrespected the wrong man, and because I remember when you skipped your honeymoon to close our first client." We sat in silence. Sometimes loyalty outlives equity. Back home, I found a message waiting from Drew's old secretary. Not a woman prone to drama. She'd forwarded a time-stamped screenshot. Subject, E.M. Hale, Singapore Expansion Final Draft. Attached, a pitch deck, filed under my initials, using protected material with an active NDA signed by overseas partners. I opened the file. Slide after slide of proprietary frameworks I designed. My name was the sender. My name was the approver. My name was the guarantee. My name was on it. That wasn't theft. That was a felony. In 5 jurisdictions. The room was quiet. 3 investors. 1 lawyer. 1 chair left empty. I placed the binder on the table. No theatrics. Just sequence. Clause 14b, I said. All material reorganizations require signatures from founding partners, including mine, which he forged. Hugo didn't blink, just flipped to the page I'd tabbed. "This is Henry's original?" I nodded. Next, Lindsay's audio file. He said to shred it after Eric's surgery, said he stepped down voluntarily. Followed by audit logs from our document system, time-stamped, showing Drew copying my signature from a proposal 3 years ago. Then the deck. Slide 7 had the NDA watermark still visible. Slide 12 included a typo Drew always made. He spelled acquisition with 2 C's. Last, the letter to my daughter's school, filed before I was even discharged. They didn't say much after that. Hugo closed the folder. "We'll handle it from here." I slid a sealed envelope across the table. "For the authorities, not for you." As I stood, Hugo asked, "What outcome are you looking for?" I paused. Nothing theatrical, just correction, and walked out. My attorney met me in a corner cafe near the courthouse. He looked more energized than usual. "With this, you could bury him. Fraud, misappropriation, endangerment, damages. I'm not after his downfall." He raised an eyebrow. "I just want the door shut behind him." We drafted the demand. Full renunciation of control, public withdrawal of the sale offer, restitution of transferred funds, and public apology. I shook my head. "He wouldn't mean it. I don't need performance." The lawyer leaned back. "You're leaving a lot on the table." "I know. That's why I'm taking the chair. Drew resigned that Friday. Medical reasons. No press release. The buyer from Singapore withdrew interest. The board reinstated my voting rights with a memo that read like it had been run through a legal translator. No one called. No one asked for my side, which was perfect. Then came the bank notification. The Singapore wire transfer had been blocked and reversed under suspicion of internal fraud. The funds were returned to the joint operating account, now reflagged under legal supervision. I logged in. The total matched. I clicked Transfer to New Holding, then Close Account. It asked for a reason. I wrote, Irreversible breach of trust. A week later, an email arrived from a generic address. No subject, no message body, just a video attachment. I clicked. Drew, alone in his office pouring whiskey into my world's okayest partner mug. Guy builds a product, thinks that makes him a king, he muttered. He typed furiously, then leaned back. If he wakes up broke and clueless, maybe he'll finally stop preaching loyalty. He signed a check. My name misspelled. Then looked straight into the camera he didn't know was recording. I paused the video. Closed the window. Deleted the file. I didn't forward it. Didn't show anyone. That wasn't justice. It was just confirmation. The new place didn't have badge readers. Just a key under a stone and a bolt that stuck on humid days. The lights buzzed when I flicked them on. The warehouse had been used for vinyl storage in the 80s. Now it held a whiteboard, 2 monitors, and a steel cabinet that still smelled like factory grease. I opened the window. No skyline, just a narrow alley in the back of a bakery. Perfect. A voice came through the speakerphone. We've reviewed your prototype. It's basic, but clean. That's the point, I said. We're not scaling. We're doing it right this time. I hung up. In the bottom drawer, I found a folder I hadn't touched in months. Old drafts of our pitch, sketches in Drew's handwriting. Tucked inside was a yellow post-it, curling at the edges. Speed is leverage. Loyalty is optional. His words. I ran my thumb over the ink, then dropped it in the trash without folding. Not a ritual, just housekeeping. The kettle whistled. I poured slowly into a chipped mug with the faded logo of our first LLC, the name long obsolete. No phone, no laptop, just the weight of the ceramic and a morning with no meetings. I sat by the window, watched the alley stay quiet, and thought of nothing. He scaled fast. I stayed. The gentleman's revenge isn't loud, but it's always personal. If this felt personal, make it personal. Subscribe now, and don't miss tomorrow's story.